Lads and lassies, we have the first big update and also the start of the first season, and we got ourselves two new characters. First we have the designated 5-star Stella, but also a 4-star called Umeko. So I personally think she's actually the star of this update. She should be the 5-star, honestly, because she's going to be a must pick for group PvE content like raids. So let's talk about her kit. She's a support character, which just like Tan2 and Yolder has another bar on screen, the Shadow Energy. So when the Shadow Energy bar is full, you will gain another usage of your first signature ability, the Shadow Shuriken. You have 3 usages of this one, but if you generate overflow of Shadow Energy, the rest will go into your second signature ability, the Void Stab. So the Shadow Energy bar actually gets filled up by you dealing damage with your weapons, which will increase if you use the Scout Rifle, which is your primary weapon, and if you're under the influence of the second signature ability. Also killing enemies that have a designated debuff on them, the Shadow's Curse. This will also generate more Shadow Energy. And the Shadow's Curse is actually the thing that makes her insane. This is a debuff you can apply which can stack, and what this does is actually increases the damage you and your fire team will deal to the enemy with said stacks. So first we're going to talk about our first signature ability, which is the Shadow Shuriken. As I've said, you have 3 usages. Each of those shurikens can apply 1 stack of Shadow Curse, which, as I've said, will increase the damage dealt against that enemy. And also if you hit an enemy who has already 3 stacks on him, the Shadow Shuriken will also deal damage to other enemies in the area who have stacks of Shadow Curse applied to them. So let's get her ult out of the way. The Singularity Shuriken is basically 1 Mega Shuriken, and this Mega Shuriken will actually instantly apply 4 stacks of Shadow Curse on the enemy and also pull surrounding enemies into the area of effect. Her second ability, the Void Step, is like the cherry on top of the already great kit with the Shadow Curse. So what the second signature ability does, this will trigger Void Healing, which will heal yourself for 108 health per second, and will trigger the Void Step state. This will give yourself invisibility and acceleration, and the Void Healing will apply on your allies, and because of the second relic trait, the Void Step buff with the Invis and acceleration will also get applied on your allies. And talking about her healing capabilities, like compared to Tan2, she isn't as great as him, and reason for that is she will only heal herself for 108 health per second, and her allies will only receive 30% of that. But there are certain conditions where the heal will be buffed up to 6 times. This will be when you and your allies are in the area of effect and you get Invis, or when you deal damage. So as I've said, it's not as great as Tan2, but still good enough to trigger the effect of certain artifacts, but we'll get to that in a second. Adding to her healing capabilities is the third relic trait, and what this does is that whenever you kill an elite or strong enemy in general who has Shadow Curse applied, this will trigger the Redeeming Light effect. It will heal the ally with the lowest health on your team. So, talking about copies, I personally think that the biggest return of investment is her second copy, because what happens is the Shadow Curse will spread to even more enemies in your surrounding. So let's talk about her best artifacts for both PvE and PvP. And we're going to divide the PvE set in a group PvE set and a solo PvE set. For group PvE content, you will use the complete talisman set. And what this set actually does is will give your teammates even more buffs. Overshield, extra damage, and also boost your damage. And the only difficulty is that the artifact in the first slot and the second slot, those effects will only get triggered when the targeted allies will get to 100% health. As I've said, her healing capabilities aren't as great as Tan2, but in a group scenario where your teammates will also get heals from other allies, I think those artifacts are still viable and also great because of the damage boost. The effect of the artifact in the second slot will definitely get proc. Talking about the fourth slot, even though her healing capabilities are limited, as in the other instance, I'm pretty sure that this one will get triggered a lot because of your allies and their healing. Overall, great set for her. For solo PvE content, we're going to switch up some artifacts. For the first slot, we're going to use the Abundant Planetesimal. I would prefer this one over the Healing Planetesimal because the Healing Planetesimal has a cooldown and she has a very high frequency of casting signature abilities because her first ability has 3 usages and both of their CDs will get lowered because of the Shadow Energy mechanic. For the second slot, we're going to pick the Unrelenting token, which gives you damage resistance while ADSing with your sniper, which you're going to be doing a lot. And the third and fourth slot, we're using the Planetesimal set, which is really good for her because, as I've said, she has a really high frequency of casting abilities. This is also why we're going to use the Planetesimal set in PvP as well. So for PvP in the first slot, we're going to pick the Healing Planetesimal. We're going to pick this one here, even though the CD is a negative point. In PvP, the direct healing capabilities are a lot more beneficial, and the rest is unchanged. So talking about weapons, this one's actually pretty easy because I think her designated exotic weapon is the the Polaris Lance. There's no debate to that. And the reason for that is the Nano Inflammation perk. What this one actually does is for each debuff applied on your enemy, this weapon will gain extra damage. And as I've said, her kit revolves about debuffing your enemies with the Shadow Curse, so this one's perfect for her. I personally think she's an S tier character, definitely a must pull. I'll be going for her. And what are your thoughts, guys? Did you actually pull her? Did you go for her? Make sure to like, subscribe, and also leave a comment, and see you in the next one.